So there's been a lot of reports recently about the potential for supply chain issues and additional shortages. And of course, the mainstream media is talking about empty shelves once again. And I came out to my garage today to get a replacement flood lamp bulb for my addition, which is the only part of my house that uses them. And I realized that this is the only one I had left. And I thought to myself, these aren't the things that I should have to go out to the store and get. These aren't the things that I should worry about having to rush out and buy during a panic buying scenario. So I wanted to put together a list of 10 items that you should have on hand, that you should stock up on and not need to rush out and get during an emergency. And these items are all mostly related to your household because there's a lot of things that we overlook when it comes to these types of items that aren't necessarily exciting but are important during a long-term emergency situation, especially when a supply chain issue is present. So I'll have links down below to all the items we're going to discuss in this video, so that way you can just rush down there and check them out if you'd like. And of course, all of them are affiliate links, which would help support the channel, and I greatly appreciate that. So the first thing on the list is going to be light bulbs, for the obvious reason that that's what we started this conversation with. And of course, you should just have additional light bulbs on hand. When they go out, you have to replace them. So they're a consumable item, and obviously running out of them in the middle of an emergency where you might not be able to get more, especially based on where most of them are manufactured right now, well, that could cause you some problems with keeping your house well lit. So make sure you have additional light bulbs. You shouldn't have to go to the store every time one of them burns out, right? And that's kind of the moral of this conversation, but we'll keep that going. So that's the only example of these items I have in this drawer right now, but the rest we can easily discuss still. The second item on this list is going to be garbage bags. Garbage bags are something you use regularly. You're always going to need more garbage bags. Even if the garbage service turns off, you still need a way to get rid of waste within your home. And bagging up garbage is still a good way to get rid of it because it at least conceals some of the smell and it keeps it contained to a degree. So you're going to need more garbage bags. Obviously, they have additional purposes as well, which I also find to be important. And one day you might have a hard time finding them, and you don't want to be in a situation where you used your last garbage bag and have to go to the store and get it. The third thing on this list is going to be air filters. Whether or not that's for your air system, air conditioning, or your furnace, or whatever it may be, just make sure you have your HVAC-related filters ready to go and stacked away, because those are another consumable item that you need. And if the power's still going and everything's fine, but the supply chain is having issues, you might need to replace that filter, and who knows if you'll be able to get one. So you shouldn't have to go to the store every time you have to replace your filter. Get a pack of 6 of them, or at least just have one backup, and that way if something happens, you're not out of luck, right? Now, the fourth item on this list is going to be caulk. So if your brain went to the wrong place right there, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, because a lot of you are degenerate freaks just like me. Now, obviously, caulk is something that you have to maintain. This is a great conversation. We're having a good time right now. And that's the thing. In your bathrooms, especially around your toilet or around your sinks or wherever else you are using caulk throughout your house on a regular basis, I just have to get through this one. It's going to be something that is degradable, which means it needs to be maintained and well upkept, and it is something that is important for the overall health of your home, right? So make sure you have some additional caulk on hand, and that way you can always replace it whenever you need more of it, I guess. Anyway, this is why I have links down below so that you're very aware of what it is I'm referring to. Moving on. Drain cleaner, or potentially lye, depending on what type of plumbing system you have. It's going to be important to maintain your plumbing system, and one of the easiest ways to screw it up is having it get clogged, right? So having some Drano on hand, or in my situation, what I prefer to use in my home is actually lye, gives you a lot of different applications for making sure that your pipes can still properly work. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that lye also has some alternative uses. So I'm not saying what they are, but I'm saying that there's some things you can do with lye that also might be relevant to preparedness. I don't know, but you can definitely declog a sink or a drain with it, so I like having it on hand. Now, the sixth item on this list is going to be extension cords, because in a way they are a consumable, because if you use extension cords enough, they do tend to get damaged or have issues down the road or whatever it is, and you might need to replace them. And you don't want to be in a situation where every time you need an extension cord, you have to go to the store, right? So in an emergency, that's not going to be an option. And maybe you need an extension cord or a few because you start having to run a generator, or you have to start using some other appliances from different power sources or whatever it might be, and you need the ability to extend your reach regarding power. So I would make sure to have at least a few extra on hand, but at the bare minimum, have one on hand. And even if you don't use an extension cord right now, you might need one at some point in time. They're relatively inexpensive, and I think having one on hand is just a really important idea. Okay, so moving on from there, toilet flappers or toilet tank kits. Toilet tank kits. I can say words. Your toilet is going to beat itself to death eventually. So, having a toilet tank kit is probably the right way to go because what that does is it gives you everything you need to basically rebuild your toilet tank so that it can maintain operation throughout a long term situation. And honestly, your toilet flapper is only supposed to last like 3 to 5 years. So, being able to replace that because it starts to go bad in a situation where you might not be able to access additional toilet flappers or any of the other parts within the tank is probably a good idea. And you can apply this to other things regarding plumbing, but especially toilets like a wax ring or whatever else you might need. But the tank itself is one of those wear and tear parts situations where they might need replacing at some point, regardless of whether or not there's an emergency. So having one on hand just makes your life simpler in case it stops working, right? So number 7 on the list is going to be one that I just personally experienced and might not be something that you personally use right now, but I think it's important. That's going to be printer ink cartridges. Now, from a preparedness standpoint, I think it's a good idea to have a printer in your home. Now, a lot of people don't anymore because they send everything digitally and they don't necessarily worry about having paper on hand or anything like that. And I understand that. But being able to print out important documents and make copies and all types of things like that are very good things to be able to do because you never know when you're going to need to leave your home and maybe you need some of those additional documents or at least copies of them. Whatever it might be, there's a lot of good uses for having a printer. Not to mention, personally, I like to print off different types of information regarding preparedness so that way if the power goes out or if there's a grid down situation or an EMP or anything like that, I have all these things printed out that I found valuable that could help me survive thereafter. So I think having a printer is a good idea, but one of the issues is that a lot of times with your printer ink cartridge, if you run out of ink, you're just out. Like it doesn't let you work a way around it really or anything like that. There are some ways you can force it to use color ink to make black and stuff like that, but in general, you just need to be able to replace that ink cartridge. And a lot of people wait until it's out to have to then go to the store and replace. Now, I just had that happen. I use my printer a lot actually for shipping labels, for printing out notes for videos like this one, and all types of things. But here's the thing. I thought I had a backup and I didn't. So I learned the hard way that this hurts. And not to mention, they're way more affordable when you order them online than they are when you go buy them in a store. So having one on hand also a lot of times will save you money in case it's one of those situations where you really, really need it and you can't wait for shipping. And I actually use the remanufactured ink cartridges because in my experience, they've worked just fine. They usually have a higher amount of volume of ink, so they last longer and they're way less expensive. So just throwing that out there. Ink cartridges, though, I think are a good idea to have additional on hand, especially because it's a proprietary item specific to your printer. So it's not something that you're easily going to be able to find every time you need it, right? Now, number 9 on this list is going to be construction adhesive. Now, construction adhesive is basically just really strong glue, but the reason I'm saying construction adhesive specifically is because it has a lot of different uses, especially around your home, for maintaining your property and maintaining just everything. You can use it for things like siding, you can use it for things like tile, you can use it for a lot of different things. You could even use it to mend a broken flower pot or something like that in case you're using it for gardening purposes. So it has a lot of strength and attributes that allow it to be used in multiple different ways. And then of course it can just be used as regular old glue as well in many cases. So I would just suggest having construction adhesive on hand just because it has that versatility, but also that required strength if you need it for something that's much larger in general, right? So next on the list, because this is a list of 10 things, and this is the 10th, is going to be weather stripping. Now, weather stripping is a degradable item within your home. It keeps the air from getting through your windows and your door frames. It also keeps the elements out when it comes to rain or snow. It also helps keep heat from escaping during the cold winter months. So weather stripping is something that just eventually over time degrades and does need to be replaced. And if you find yourself in a situation where maybe the power's out or your heat source goes out and we're in an emergency, so it's not something that can be fixed right away, being able to maintain your home's insulation is very important. And a lot of times your home loses a lot of heat or even cold air through your faulty weather stripping. So having additional weather stripping on hand is just a good idea, and then maintaining it regularly is also important. So this is my list of 10 things that I think you should always have stock of and not have to run out to the store to go get every time you run out, right? So just keep this in mind. Oh, last trash bag in the box, I got to go to the store. Should probably have another box on hand. Once you open it, then you go get another box, right? Like that's the method that I'm trying to convey here and promote because I think it's going to help deal with a lot of circumstantial issues you might face if we do have some of these supply chain shortages coming our way, which a lot of people are reporting. And I'm not sure if it's actually going to occur or if it's going to be at the same level of, 2020 or something like that. But what I do know is that I felt unprepared today when I came out here and only had one of these light bulbs left. So I'm just sharing my own personal experiences with you, that I'm using these experiences as a muse to create this level of content to hopefully help others be better prepared. And I hope you found it valuable and useful. So, anything else you need from me at all, you can go to magicprepper.com. There's a lot of interesting information there. There's a lot of ways to support the channel there. And of course, like I said in the beginning of the video, there's also the links down below. So that way you can follow along with the list and just go directly to these items if you want to just order them and support the channel financially in the process. And besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.